So, where's Nisi at? Okay, come up here with me. The moment yeah, that's perfect. That's good, y'all? Vocal wise? All right. Let's have a seat up here, because I don't want to have to run to you every time I ask a question.
What y'all doing?
All right. I'm going to ask all y'all the same. Hey, man, you too. All right. No, you good. I'm going with him. I'm going to let you know. All right. Lisa, what is high step? She says she don't know. That's a great answer. Devon, what's high step?
I don't know.
Come on, Devon. No, you can't follow Lisa. What do you think high step is?
I think high stepping, Ticket's probably more qualified to answer that. Really? Really?
Tell us what it is.
Nah, what's high stepping?
Oh, you're not doing that to me. I'm over here. I'm on Facebook with her. Look here. It's a culture. It's a culture.
Tick man, what is it?
All right. I still don't have an answer yet. Tick man, what's high stepping?
It's a different swag in the dance. It's a different count, different rhythm, and time into the music.
So, to prepare for this workshop, going on time. To prepare for this workshop, I interviewed the original high steppers, right? I feel like we gotta create a story, right? Gotta have context, right? So I went and talked to, there are 1, 2, 3, I think 6 original high steppers. 6 original, the one they call the honorary. We're gonna get into that. What's the 6 original high steppers? DC?
It's Diana Jackson, Donnie Davis, Ice Ray, Ice Rob. That's 4. One used to wear the finger waves. Doing good though. He's deceased. What's his name? Romeo. Not Romeo. Romeo wasn't
So she got Donnie, she got Claudel, Rob, and Ray. You got any other ones? 2 more. 2 more. Macaroni. Macaroni. Who said that? Let you down? Macaroni was the 5th one. There's 1 more. The least popular one of them all. And he passed away. Zach Mack. Zach Mack. So, all right, next question for my esteemed panelists here. What year did high stepping kick off? DC.
I like that number.
94, that's a damn good guess, Lisa. You got an idea? Take man, what year did high stepping kick off?
1992.
Oh, that's a good guess too. Real quick, Take man, let me borrow you for 5 seconds. You and Lisa. I feel like I missed something to start off. It's talking about high stepping and not knowing what you're talking about. Take man, can you just show us a little bit of what high stepping is with DC? Take man, anybody can. Here we go. Yeah, there you go. All right. Okay, good. So, let me answer the question I asked. What is high stepping? I asked high stepping. did come up with one thing in particular that made high stepping, and that's dancing with your leg in there. Dancing with one foot in the air. You know, bring your feet off the ground. That is ultimately, outside of the rhythm that Tick Man talked about, that's one of the distinguishing factors of high stepping. Dancing with a foot in the air. Now y'all might say, man, that sounds so simple. It's a big deal because, let's walk back through the steps for a minute. In the 70s, you had the dungeon era. You see the guys on the man and all that, right? Then something happened to stepping after the 70s. We got people behind us. Y'all don't want to go on this side, well, I'll turn. But something happened in the 70s, going into the 80s, disco down there killed stepping, right?
Send it underground.
It sent it underground. Thanks, Daryl. It sent it underground, and it wasn't as popular. What's up, Daryl Davis? Legend in the back. You know he gonna.
Still very, very popular.
Yeah. And so something else happened though, Daryl, that put stepping in jeopardy in a lot of people's lives, which was the drug era, crack.
Well, that put everything in.
Right. Well, it did, but it hurt stepping in particular because there was a period of about 10 years where the dance wasn't passed the way that it had been passed traditionally.
Oh, it was more years than that when it stopped being passed.
So look, the 90s, the early 90s is when you start to see this sort of rebirth. You got television shows again. You got the world's largest start, you know, downtown in the Hilton and the Hyatt, the Majestic. The contest, up until the high steppers came around, it was actually against the rules to bring your feet off the ground and stepping. You would actually, Tick Man got disqualified for that in the contest actually. 2 years straight for bringing his foot off the ground and stepping. So that's where these high steppers really started to transform the game. Thinking about this whole high stepping beast. The year, by the way, Tick Man, let's bring this music down just a touch. The year, you said 94, you said 92. The year the guys came up with was actually 93. So y'all was right in the middle. Right in the middle, 93. Here's another trivia question for y'all. Where did high stepping take place? I know Angie was in here somewhere. You said it yesterday. So you can't answer, Angie.
High school.
Who said? Somebody said the dungeon. That's not true. That's not it. Where was high step? Where was high stepping? Where was the epicenter of high stepping?
You should have run.
It was Sarah James.
It was Sarah J's. All right. Where was Sarah J's, Angie?
Down on the other side of the
75th.
50-yard line on 75th.
Who been to Chicago to step before? If you have been to Chicago to step before, raise your hand. If you've been to Chicago to step, I know if you went to the 50-yard line, right? You go to Chicago and step, you ain't been to the 50, you ain't really.
That's a staple.
Right, the East too.
Right.
The East too. East on 79.
That was like 75th and Stewart, right?
Yep. It was over the highway.
Right across
So-
the bridge, baby.
Right across the bridge. Now, check it out. Who knows the story of how the high steppers came together?
I used to know this.
So, check it out. Who? You know?
I don't know.
I used to know this story.
So let me tell you the story of how the high steppers came together. This is from my interviews with the high steppers themselves. They were dancing at, what was it, End of the Rainbow? It was a place called End of the Rainbow in Chicago. Say what? That's where you learn end of the rainbow. Where was end of the rainbow, Tig?
South Shore Drive.
Right, at the end of the line.
South Shore Drive.
South Shore Drive, 79,
79th
end of the
Street.
rainbow.
Yeah.
End of the rainbow had a set that was on fire.
A couple of them.
They had a set that was on fire. Oh, okay. Let me ask another question. What night was Sarah Jane popping for the High Steppers?
Thursday.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
What'd you say?
That's right.
It was Thursday night.
That's right.
What?
Tuesday night. Tuesday night.
I thought it was Thursday.
Tuesday night.
I thought it was Thursday too.
It was Tuesday.
Did they switch it to Thursday?
So, so these guys were over at the end of the rainbow dancing. And the end of the rainbow had a nice crowd. And they wanted to throw a set. And end of the rainbow told them, no. We good over here. Our set is popping. We don't need y'all. So Ice Ray, and if you guys don't know Ice Ray, it's probably, when you think of high stepping, he is the George Washington, or whatever you call it, the top dog of it. Ice Ray is probably the person whose name you're going to see on the Mount Rushmore. You know, he is the high stepping sort of king, so to speak. So Ray, you know, and then Ray was a hustler. And he was a very successful one, particularly in that era, you know. Ray would come in the club and joke and say, "I'm down to my last 600,000." So Ray, then he wasn't the type of guy that liked to hear no. You know, like, nah, I'm not, you don't tell me no and that's the end. So Ray found a club called Sarah J's that was known for mud wrestling. It was a mud wrestling club, among other things.
Wet t-shirt.
A mud wrestling club. You said, say it again, Daryl?
Wet t-shirt contest.
Wet t-shirt contest, mud wrestling. Ray went to the club and had a dance floor built. In Sarah J's so that they could step. This came from a lot of the guys. And then they had a meeting and decided who would be in the group. Now, this is the part about high stepping I think that gets really interesting, is whose idea was it to dance with their leg in the air?
I would say more Donnie.
She said, Sharnice said Donnie's. This is Donnie's idea to dance with their leg in the air. Daryl, who you say?
It was Ray. Ray.
Daryl said Ray created it. So the high steppers themselves don't necessarily agree on this point.
Of course not.
They don't necessarily agree on where the idea to dance with the leg in the air came from, right? So
Let me tell you why they did that. What a lot of people don't know is that the majority of the high steppers were skaters. Ice Ray skated, and he was a damn good skater, and he was a damn good dancer. And some of the moves that he did on the skating floor, he actually did on the dance floor. It's why they called him Ice Ray, because he was floating. So he actually, for the most part, put that staple on that dance.
So here's where they agree on that, and I think where the demarcation is. Everybody in the high steppers credited Ray for founding it. Nobody denied that Ice Ray was the guy that was responsible for creating the high steppers, and that even in his prime, that he was the guy that was most prominent for carrying the flag. Well, where it came from, it's a lot of disagreement on that. Some people say that it was actually Macaroni. Because Macaroni used to do this Three Stooges move where he would go in a circle like this. So that's one theory, that it was Macaroni. The next theory was that it was Ray. Talking to Ray's wife, Desi, she stated Ray would drink. And so when he would get a little toasty, sometimes he would lose his balance and he would drop back and keep the leg in the air. That's one theory.
It was supposed to tell that.
The
Y'all,
interesting
thank you for
thing-
tuning in. You're listening to a discussion about the high step. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona,
Said that ain't true.
at the Sunday
They
brunch.
said that in that
Farewell
era, Ray
brunch.
wasn't really drinking.
Getting a little
So-
history lesson, y'all. Stay tuned.
So that part of it, they said, nah, that ain't where it came from. But then the most probably unlikely guy of the group that you would think as a person who really had an impact on lifting a leg in the air was actually Ice Rob. And so, talking to Rob said when you look at the historical footage of Macaroni, and Stephen Luther just dropped some footage of Macaroni probably back in the 80s or late 70s. And Mac used to dance kind of man on man, real fast. He said you don't start to see Mac actually lifting his leg into the air until many years later after he had already been dancing. He said, same with Ray. He said Ray preceded the sort of what they call the man-on-man or dungeon era stepping. Ray was already good then. But in his dance, you didn't see, like when you watch Ray dance now, you'll see him do stuff like this. He'll kick all the way up and say, yeah, Ray gonna kick his foot all the way up in the air. But you didn't see Ray do none of that in the high stepping era. So all of those things sort of came after the fact. The only person who says that they have footage of them actually bringing their leg in the air prior to the high stepping era was Ice Rob. So that's a thought. Here's another question I asked that I thought was interesting because I knew there would be some ladies in the room. And I wonder, ladies probably trying to say, where do we fit in this whole high stepping conversation? Could there be, I asked the guys the actual high stepper, but I'm going to ask y'all too. Could a lady be a high stepper? Jamal.
Yes.
Okay. Daryl, could a lady be a high stepper?
There were several of them.
Based on what they tell me, no. But yes, there are dancers who are high steppers, but they don't see women as high steppers.
Okay. All right. Tick man. Can a lady be a high stepper?
Right. Linda Russell is a high stepper.
Is she the only one?
Arlene was a high stepper.
Angie. Can a lady be a high stepper?
Angie was a high stepper.
I think Angie is too.
Yeah, Angie's a high stepper.
So I asked the fellas, can a lady be a high stepper? First thing they all said was, yeah, we had sweethearts. We had club sweethearts. I said, no, fellas, that ain't what I'm going with.
Raina Ford, this is a discussion about the high step,
It was a perplexing question to all
origin,
of them.
and those who participated in that version of the dance.
Two of them said yes and one of them said no. They said one of them said, well, there were ladies who always clowned around with us. Leanna was mentioned as one of them. Toy, they didn't mention her, but I know her style. Demeter was mentioned. Now, Linda Russell became probably the main lady that was identified as a high stepper, but that was also problematic because there was one thing that the high steppers needed from the woman that a woman high stepper like Darlinda didn't give them, which is absolute control. And Darlinda liked to do her own thing. You see what I mean? So the fellas didn't always enjoy leading Darlinda because she did her own thing. She was like a woman version of them. So, but here's one point that was made that I thought was phenomenal. They said the reason why a lady wouldn't necessarily, even though she could pick up the moves, wouldn't necessarily be considered a high stepper is because the high steppers, the part of the dance that requires you to have your leg in the air will make a woman lose balance. You can't have your leg in the air, high stepping, and then be ready to go for the next thing that they was throwing at you. Chinese, you don't think you agree with them. Yeah. So, how do high stepping impact like today, right? The one reason I really wanted to really dive into this area is because, like, when I come to the conferences now, and there's nothing wrong with this, but when I watch the people dance, I see a lot of, like, the kind of open kind of movement. You know what I mean? All the guys kind of moving, like, you know. Y'all can hear me? I see a lot of the guys, I see sort of moving kind of wide. You know what I mean? They kind of doing all, you know. And even when they create sort of in this kind of wide environment. And so what I had sort of gravitated to from the high stepper era was the fact that it was cool. It was in a space, in a box. You know what I mean? In the pocket. Tick Man said it right. It was in the pocket.
We didn't have that space.
So
You have to be creative in the smallest box.
say it again, Niecy.
I said we didn't have that space. You have to be creative in the smallest box. The floor was crowded. Yeah, the floor was too crowded.
Yeah.
And you had to have control.
So when I talk about how high stepping sort of made it into the generations that followed, they had guys that each of them mentioned that sort of carried the torch of high stepping. They called them babies at the time. One was Tick Man. Tick Man was considered to those guys one of the baby guys coming up under them as a high stepper. Another one that they mentioned was actually, I was surprised to hear, but Drake. And then another one they mentioned was Maurice Turner. And these guys now are all greats and legends in their own right. You know what I mean? But they came under them. And each one of them, interestingly enough, kind of went under a different high stepper. So Maurice took direct tutelage from Ice Rob. And Tick was under Ray. And Dre was under Claudel. So when you start to think about, like, whichever of these guys' hands you touched, that's probably the lineage that you're from. Like, I came initially from Dre. And Dre came from Claudel. I would say if any of those guys touched Niecy, probably was Claudel. So when you start to think about your lineage, like if this was martial arts and you thought about your instructor, you would start to trace your lineage back to the period in time. Now, this is one right here for sure. This is one you put on for Ray. Summer Snow was a high step record for sure. Here's another interesting fact when I talk to the high steppers, right? They didn't feel they were high stepping. This is the most fascinating piece to this whole conversation. When I asked them about high stepping, none of them, they said actually what they didn't like about high stepping is when people tried to high step. They didn't like it. They said that it felt forced. They were saying that why they called the name of the group High Steppers, what they were doing was just simply dancing in their style. And there were members of the group like Claudel, for instance, that was not, he didn't lift his leg in there, he didn't come from that era, but
Thank y'all for tuning in. This is a discussion about the high step and the historical figures that helped to create that portion of the dance. I appreciate you all for tuning in. We'll continue to bring you the closing events from Jules and Gents, Phoenix, Arizona, y'all. Hang in here. Let's do this.
Damone and Nana are direct students of Ice Rock. They actually touched these guys' hands. Niecy, there was a contest, if y'all can find it online, I posted it years ago. It was a loose shoes contest. But Niecy actually lost her mind in that contest and just went to work. I'm a reminder. Because see, what we're about to do now, we're going to give y'all a chance to high step. And it won't be fun. Just remember we did it last time. We had a demonstration. That's a great piece. Thank you to DJ. Who was the DJs for high stepping? Mellow Chris. Who was the other one? Those two.
Mellow Chris was the most prominent.
They had, the other one, it was something with him.
Mellow Chris was the most prominent. Mellow Chris, to a lot of people's, in a lot of people's opinion, you know, Chris had already been DJing for a long time. He DJed with Sam Chapman and some other people, but they felt like Chris's rise to fame and popularity kicked off with the High Steppers. No, it wasn't Steve Breeze. It wasn't Steve. It wasn't Sam. Y'all will never guess this one. It was a cat that they... Reggie Miles? No. No, we talking about Sarah J's. Sarah J's. Who?
It was somebody
No,
before
Juan
Chris.
Raphael. I'm gonna tell y'all his name because it's not somebody that y'all gonna think of. You say somebody popular.
If it wasn't Cox back then.
One Cox. No, one Willie Cox. Tell me when y'all give up now.
We give up.
Y'all give up? They mentioned it. No, it wasn't Terrible Ted. They said Terrible Ted was out west. I'm about to drop it. You ready? It's Neil Money.
Oh, wow.
Neil Money. It was Mellow Chris and Neil Money. So those.
He wasn't around long.
He wasn't around long.
That's a good point. Now you said he wasn't around long.
He really was.
Now that's a great point.
He was like a...
Because I was going to get into the dancing before I completed the story. So thank you for saying that. What happened to the High Steppers? How did they die? What happened? Did they just go away? Did they die? What happened to the High Steppers? How long did the era last? Stepping, if you follow stepping, and if you're in Chicago, you know that the dance goes through eras almost. You know, like the dungeon was an era of stepping, and it was identified by the style of dance, the people that participated. High stepping was an era too. My era, they call my era the new school era. You know, people come, say what?
Y'all started spinning.
Yeah, we started all the spinning. Exactly. Tickman was a leader of the new school era. Him and Dre and Westside Mike. But no, what happened to High Stepping? How long did it last first? That's the question. What you say? Who said that? He said 3 years. How long did the High Stepping era last? Anybody else?
Everything changed in 2000. Like you all were coming in 2000, so I want to say about 99.
Easy say 99. We said that we established that one of the pivotal years for the High Steppers launching was 1993. For the people that didn't get it. But how long did it start? When did it start to die? No. According to the guys, the High Stepping run only lasted 2 years. It only lasted 2 years. From 93 to around 95.
Yeah.
But they still, I wouldn't say that.
They were still doing parties.
They were still doing parties,
So
but
it wasn't gone.
but this is what they feel happened. Because I had a whole conversation about like what happened to the High Steppers. How did the guys end, right? The High Steppers was so popular. They said that it was cars around the block trying to get into Sarah J's. People outside, you couldn't even get in. People came from all over the city to watch these guys get down and to get down with them. But they started to institute rules in the group. So the guys started to have conversation. First and foremost, another person that wasn't mentioned was Bishop Don Magic Juan. So Bishop Don Magic Juan was not an official High Stepper, but he might be what you would call an honorary. They say they did not throw a set that Bishop Juan didn't come to. So Bishop Juan and Ray was like this. They was homies and they hustled together. So Bishop Juan was always there. So Bishop Juan actually is instrumental in one of the events that they felt were pivotal to the groups ultimately falling apart. One thing was that they started to institute rules in the High Steppers. One of the rules was that each of the members had to take turns working the door. As you can imagine with these huge personalities, how that worked out. You know what I mean? You got all of these guys as hustlers. You know, so not all of them was. That's another thing. Claudel and Donnie they called them straight. You know, squares. Zach Max, Bishop Juan, Rob, Ray was still in the streets. George Macaroni too, right? Yeah. They were still in the streets. So part of the whole aura of that era was that you came in, tailor-made suits, a whole bunch of jewelry on. And so you can imagine if I'm coming in my tailor-made suit and I'm iced out, I'm not going to be working the door. So you can see already where that's causing friction in the group, right? Another piece I didn't mention, it almost seems like a no-brainer to me, right? That they dance to only the oldies, the classics. The high steppers dance to the classics, and I was like, yeah, well, that makes sense because that's the music they played back then, but that's not true. In '95, they were playing 70s music, and I want to make that clear. You feel me? 70s, early 80s music. So that was a hallmark of high stepper that it was a classic vibe. So we talked about what happened to them, right? One is they started to institute rules in the group that other members didn't like. The first person to lead the high steppers was who? Who was the first person to lead the group? Anybody? Nobody know? You say Rob, that's your guess. Who you say? Bishop? She say George. Who said Claudette? Irie say Claudette. Claudette would be right. Claudette was the first person to lead the high steppers. Number one, Claudette said of the high steppers. He said of the high steppers, he always felt the least high stepper-ish. What's that?
He was the only one at the job.
He did work for the post office.
That would be me.
Claudel said his purpose in the group was mainly to follow. He was an amazing follower. He said the high steppers loved him because he allowed them to get off with him because he was such an amazing follower. But
He is.
around the same time, I told you the 90s was sort of this rebirth in stepping. And so you got this other guy that y'all might know, Pete Frazier. Right? Pete Frazier's story really started to blossom in the same period as Sarah J's. So Pete was part of a group, I think it was called the Black Gents or something like that. The Black Tie. Black Tie. He was part of Black Tie. Black Tie failed. It fell apart.
They didn't fall apart. The president decided that he didn't want to do it.
Right.
And he wouldn't let them use the name.
Say it again.
I said the president of Black Tie moved on to do something else.
Okay.
So that's what happened to them. And then he wouldn't let them take the name. So they had to create.
Okay.
So Pete was the last member to come into Black Tie. So Fish brought Pete.
See, that's why it's good to have these OGs up here. Make sure we get the story straight. You gotta get the story right.
Yeah.
Getting the story right is more important than anything.
And so when Brad decided he didn't want to do Black Tie anymore, and Pete and Fish still wanted to do parties.
Yeah.
So they came up with Majestic Gents, and then they started grabbing DA and Keith. Keith in here. Keith was part of the first part of Majestic Gents. So they were all working class men. You know, they were police officers, firemen, postal workers. They were all blue collar guys. And they had one party a year, and that party was the most.
So check it out. They told you the story, right? The Gents coming together. When the Gents came together, they was out of this world. They was throwing the best parties, you know what I mean, in the city. You know, some of them, not the only ones, but say what? Say what? Using the Gents? I didn't know that. Look, we got Mom and Pops over here. They co-signing too. Mom and Pops co-signing. They was at the party. So the Gents took off. They started doing this amazing party at the same time. Remember, the High Steppers is at their peak too. So the High Steppers at their peak, the Majestic Gents is at their peak. What you think they decided to do? Say what? Contest. No. That's a good guess, though. Good guess. What else? What y'all think they decided to do? Throw a party together. That's right. They decided to throw this huge party together. Party. What you think happened when the party came together? You got the two dopest groups in the city decided to throw a party together. What happened? It blew up. The city was on fire. Everybody came to the party. It was packed. Out of control, right? And then Pete and them said, that was so dope, we gotta what? We gotta do it again. But it was a problem when they decided to do it again. What y'all think the problem was? Money. One say personalities, one say money, one say ego. All of that's wrong. All of that's wrong. What happened was this. The next date of the party conflicted with Bishop Juan's birthday. And Bishop Juan was a raised man. So Bishop Juan say, we will not host a party that's competing with my man. Ray say, we not hosting a party competing with my man Bishop Juan party. With his birthday, right. So the high steppers decide to sit out on the Gents' next party. The Gents threw what y'all think it was? Off the chain. The high steppers, that was pretty much one of the deciding factors that started to lead to the decline in the group. Claudel left shortly thereafter. Then they had to leave Sarah J's. They started, as Daryl mentioned, trying to keep the group alive by hosting smaller parties and kind of keeping the legacy going. But after that, the group just started to fall apart. And so this era of the high steppers in its glory around 1995. Right? Around 1995. But the legacy they left behind is one that's not talked about, and I'm going to tell you why. I got to address this last piece. When you meet guys from the dungeon era, you know you met them. Because they're going to tell you they're the greatest ever.
Right.
I'm a legend, man. You don't know me? I ain't paying to get no party. That's the dungeon era. The high steppers was almost the exact opposite. Since they were like players, they didn't scream for attention. Even to this day, to see those guys out is like seeing a ghost. You gotta catch them. You gotta stumble upon them in Chicago. You don't see the, am I wrong, Ted? When you see Rob out, it's a sighting. In the floor, everybody gonna stand at the side of the stage and watch the man dance. Same with Ray. It's a sighting. They didn't crave the attention. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to figure out why would these guys that were so amazing, even to this day, they don't let you film them. You can't, no footage of Ray on, there's a little footage of Ray on the internet now, but not a lot. And there's no footage of Rob. And there's only one clip from 80-something, late 80s or early 90s, brother, Claudia. These guys didn't want attention. I started to say, why didn't they want attention, right? Then it clicked to me. They was hustlers. Hustlers don't want to be in the news. You're right. Go ahead, Ari. What'd you say?
I got some footage of Rob on 7 Club 7.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it might be a little out there. I got some footage of Rob too that he sent to me prior to coming here. Now I have footage. Damone, you still got footage, don't you? But what do Rob tell you when he let you film?
Don't show nobody this film.
What did he say? Nah, when you get to film. Now I got to film it too.
Don't show nobody. It ain't for nobody besides the boys in the room.
So this is why the high stepping era is an era that was so instrumental in the dance that we do today, in the moves that you see on the floor, but you don't hear nothing about it because the guys just like ghosts. And that's what makes it so intriguing for me. As much as that era have inspired my dance, I wrote about stepping for 16 years on ShyStepper.com and never did one high stepping article because it couldn't get to the guys. Even to this day, Ray declined interviews with me year after year after year after year. They did not want attention. But you guys, we all owe the high steppers a debt for what they brought to this game. And that's what I wanted to do today. I wanted to spend a little time getting my favorite high steppers in the room doing one thing simple, right? Who want to learn some high stepping? You want to learn some high stepping? You want to learn some high stepping? Come to the floor. Nobody?
So before you go there, I got some more information you need to add to that. So you're talking about, you talked about the dungeon, which was a great staple. But there was another place in Chicago called the nursery school, where people like Ice Ray and Rob and all of them came to. That was the hierarchy of the people who actually danced. A lot of people, those guys didn't go to the dungeon. They went to the nursery school. So if you were a hell of a dancer, you went to nursery school and not in the dungeon. You might have went through the dungeon, but if you were for real, like he's talking about dancer, I grew up in the nursery school. That's where I came from. I went to the dungeon, yeah, but the nursery school is the other place that you don't talk about. See, a lot of people have no idea what it was. It was down the street from the dungeon.
Yeah, sure was. On this.
It was right down the street. So a lot of people, see, there are a lot of missing pockets in the stories, So I grew up in it. 13, I'm 63 now. I was there.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is my last chance for y'all to come up here. I don't know how many times you're gonna get a chance to get somebody like Dick Man or Angie Payne to show you a move, but y'all don't want it. I ain't gonna beg you to get it. All right, you want it? All right, Angie Payne, I want you to come up first.
She trying to hide. Come on here.
Who? Give me some a little bit more heat. Give me some a little bit more energy. Like some. Okay, that's a good one. You high step there? So Angie got a little high step move that I love. When I thought about women high steppers, it was like her and Darlinda was my, Angie, give them your high step move real quick. The one that we did last night. Can y'all see it? Shorty rub. Cut it for me, Tit. There we go. Yeah. Let me ask y'all a question. Seeing that, y'all starting to feel the rhythm of it? Can you see what I'm talking about? Huh? All right, who was up here? Somebody was up here. Come on up here. Angie, see if you can get her to kick that leg back. Let's see how it's going. Anybody else? Y'all better come on. Angie, give him something. Give him a piece of it to start off. All right, now look, Angie, this is one little detail right there that I know I do, and I see a lot of the guys at High Step do. It's this little
Dip, then you go down in the beat. Go down in the beat.
Show them that real quick. Let's start with that because it got to be simple. If you don't get the mechanics of it, all the kicking the leg up in there ain't gonna work. Let's do that real piece right there, Angie. Do the piece for me. Go ahead out there so we can see. Walk out there and look. We want to see it. Let me see you move the feet.
Yeah.
Now this is what I want want y'all to look at, right? So y'all know y'all paying attention to the right thing. First of all, you see how she in one place? With the high steppers, they didn't do a whole lot of side-to-side motion and movement. It was right in this pocket right here. And it was cool. Yeah, up and back. There you go. You look at that. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right, now this is what I'm going to do real quick. Then we're going to move on. Step up right there next to Angie. I want to see you try. Come on, let's go. Let me see what you got. Y'all got a 1-minute tutorial. Let's go. All right, no, I ain't asked everybody to step up. I asked her to step up. Y'all step back. I want to see you try to do it. Let's go. Let me see what you got. How we looking on time, y'all? All right, all right. All right, step back. Step up. Let me see. What you got? Come on. You step back in the paint, my sister. All right, let me see what you got. Okay, all right. There you go, the kid. Try it again. Oh, almost. Almost.
I can tell y'all this much. We have had a fantastic time this weekend. We got Angie Payne and T. Pratt over here working with them on the high bop, giving them a couple of moves for nostalgia, y'all. I appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us for this weekend. It's been a hell of a time. This is the wind down, y'all. The brunch is coming up at 1 o'clock, and we're going to do this thing till 6. And I got to fly out of here, y'all. But it's been fun, fun, fun. Go on, Angie Payne.
All right, let's stop that. Dick Man, I need you real quick. We need a song before you go.
Raina Ford, you know what? The funny thing about what you're saying is that, you know, people, we see these, man, listen, the crowd at this place this weekend has been extremely diverse. And you're absolutely correct. That is one of those people who loves this dance, and he's going to get it. And when he does, people are going to be, because you got people who will, make jokes and say different things, but the man got blue hair, let's be real. But I tell you just like this, the next time you see that cat, trust and believe he going to have this thing in his back pocket. So y'all better watch for that dude. He might have a different color hair, but you better watch for him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So, Dick Man, the part of high stepping I want you to give is the part that you actually need to put your foot in.
Well, that good talk, boy.
Tick Man, y'all.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go.
That high bop.
Yeah. Nice. Who's gonna try putting their leg in there? Anybody? You gonna try? Come on, he ready to go. Let's go. Come on. Let me see you.
Yeah, Raina Ford, I am tired. Trust me, baby. I appreciate the fact that you think I don't look tired, but I promise you I am wore out. I'm gonna sleep all the way home on the plane. Please believe it.
Hey, listen, I ain't mad at it. I'll be just like him. I don't know what y'all doing. I'm trying everything.
That cat is trying everything. He ain't missing a beat.
All right, let's go. Let's see it. Devon, you up next. No, I know what I want you to do. Come on, let's go. Raise it up.
Alright. Why y'all playing? Better quit playing. You better quit playing. You better quit playing. You heard. Alright. Now, quit playing. Y'all saw that.
Now, let me add another little piece to it, right? I'm breaking down some of the elements because hard stepping is hard to define. It ain't as we saw, it ain't just one thing. It's a lot of things. It's a whole rhythm, right? So Damone came from under Rob, and I watched him dance. I can tell he came from under Rob. Tick Man was the first person to show me this. Most of what I learned from high stepping I got from Tick. I didn't get from the actual original high stepping. I got it from Tick. So one time, if you look at stepping, right, everybody know we sort of go out either this way, right, forward, or depending on who you learn from, you might go this way, right? And then you come back to your basics. But a lot of times with the high steppers, they start off in reverse. Am I right? So if you, Damone, come with me real quick. I'm gonna have you do it by yourself. I just want you to see what I'm talking about. Hold it for me, Derek.
Here's the mic. Here we go. The mic is here. I'm gonna hold it for you. Just talk.
So Tick was one of the first persons I see actually use the other person's pressure to go backwards with the foot. So Damone, when I watch you dance, a lot of times you might need a partner for this. Maybe Angie, you might be our demonstration person. Watch Damone just dance naturally, and watch.
Hey y'all, look who I got. I got a visit. I got a special visitor, y'all. My man Myron the R is in the building.
How you feel, B?
Man, I'm great, man.
Yeah, you look good, man.
Thank you, brother. You look mighty damn good.
Y'all see it now?
Hey, man, this has been a hell of a weekend, right?
I don't know if they understand.
Just do what you do.
Try to make them understand. They
I
don't
can't.
understand.
Listen, man. I can't put no gauge on this, man. If you miss this one, you better check out 2030.
That's all you can say.
2023.
2023, man, gonna be bananas. Cause this one here was off the chain, straight up.
So much. It was nice, man.
I'm like, I'm kind of left at a little bit of a loss for words on this one. I ain't gonna lie.
Listen, I'm trying to find them too, and I'm struggling. You hear me, man? I'm
This was one hell
struggling,
of an
man.
event.
It was. The jewels
And look, and just when you thought it was over, it just got better.
But listen, because
Y'all say y'all
now
don't
what's
see it.
gonna happen
All right,
is
Tick, cut.
every DJ that has played for the weekend is gonna get an hour to play.
I feel pretty good because I got stuck with. Listen, stuck. I didn't get stuck. I got the opportunity. I got the blessing, you dig, to do the pool party yesterday, man. You did well.
But that was you
Coming from you. Yeah, that was me, man. Yeah, because the DJ didn't show up. And I was broadcasting, so I pulled out my DJ computer. You know, I got a good DJ keep this stuff with him, right? That was me, baby.
Okay, well listen, man. You did a fantastic job, but I need to bless you right now. Can I?
Man, thank you. Yes, sir.
Y'all see what he's doing with his
All right.
beat?
I'm right here. All right, y'all. Myron the R is in the building, and I just got a blessing from Myron the R. He said I did a fantastic job, so I'm happy with that, dig. You dig what I'm saying? That's what's up, because y'all know I'm a flourishing DJ. DJ be real in the building, y'all. Yeah, this thing is here. This thing here is beautiful. This is beautiful, y'all.
What's that?
I want to ask something.
All right. Oh, man, what we got?
For me,
I'm giving you a flash.
I don't call it high stepping. I just call it dancing.
Y'all.
So that was the one thing that I learned from
add to
my
your life
mentor
right
is just dance.
My man, listen.
Every partner is
I
different.
appreciate that, brother.
The music is
Let me tell you
different.
something.
So what I do, I'm inspired by my partner.
One of the things about
on
me,
what I'm
man,
gonna do next.
when it
So I
comes to
can't
this DJ
just
thing is this.
start doing things. I have
I've
to
had some pretty
really
good
get into
cats
the music
to
and my
assist me
partner. And from there,
in
that's
this
where
journey.
create.
And what I would not do, starting out, I would not call myself a DJ until I got blessed by those in the game, my peers, if you will. I don't even want to call y'all my peers yet. You dig what I'm saying? Stretch gave me the blessing, allowed me to do his set in Vegas, him and Antonita. I've had some other blessings, man. I've had
So
some
good. So I just want y'all to see
Kevin
the
Neville's
drop back. The
ambassador.
other thing Tick did, if you
helped me a
notice,
lot.
and you see
Girl
this with a lot of
Smooth
the high
Greenwood
steppers.
out of
Come here,
Houston.
Angie.
Oh man, and now I'm adding you to the list. My DJ folks, man, when I get these blessings, brother, trust and believe, they mean something to me. And one of these days, I'm gonna be able to call myself a real DJ.
Well, as well it should, man, because the names that you've mentioned are some powerful cats. They bring a lot to the game, and I'm more than sure that you'll bless the game as well, man. So just be true to it. Play your box. Have a good time, Jack.
Man, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So, you know, in
My man.
those kind of slick movements you were seeing the guys,
Yeah, you about to hit the ones too, man. Oh man, that's what's happening, baby. Let's go. Let's get it. All right, y'all, I'm sorry about that little impromptu interview, but you know you have to catch these people when they're available, because you just don't ever know. If they go, they're everywhere, man. Here y'all go.
I told you. What you say yesterday? What you say yesterday?
Mr. Keith Hubbard on the mic, y'all.
It's a lot of balancing, but it's other little things that you do. Like, look here, watch this. I'm gonna hold your hand while I do it. So when I come through here, I actually elongate my step right here. So step across her body. And I gotta get back this way with this foot in the air. Right? It's all shit. Honestly, I stole this from Tick. But you know, you steal it and you add your own to it, right? So when you come across the lane here, I gotta get back there. All the way around, because I gotta get back into my next move. But this foot stayed in the air. If this foot point, this is what I see a lot of y'all do, right? If your foot ain't positioned in the right spot when you particularly dance in this style, it changed the whole look of the move. Yeah. So if I do that same move, my foot pointed down, it don't have the same feel. You feel me? What's that? I think that's a great question for Angie. Basically, what is the woman's role? How do you emote in high stepping from a lady's side?
First thing on the ladies, you gotta have your foundation down pat. You have to have your balance down pat, because as they doing that, they're balancing on you. So you sometimes you have to hold them, or they might freeze you in a certain position so that they can do what they need to do. Meanwhile, you gotta stay put and keep their balance for them. So if your dance is not solid and your balance is not solid, you can't do that. Because they can't do it, because they rely on you, and it's a flow, because everything goes on a down beat. Everything they do is in here. And if you're not down here with them, they can't do it. So far as a woman, you gotta be able to dance down. You gotta be able to come down on a beat and be able to balance and hold their balance. Because when he did that move, I had to hold his balance when he did it. When Tick went around in a circle, I had his balance.
That's a great point. And Danielle, y'all know Danielle Wardlaw in Chicago, danced with Tick for many years. Dancing with Danielle like driving a Rolls Royce, because she's gonna help me. Watch this right here. When I come around this turn right here, if I come around here, this turn right here, man. And I bring this foot here. Like I'm using, she helping me come here.
That's the balance.
Turn.
She balance you.
See what I'm saying?
So we gotta help him get around in there on that one foot. We gotta put it in place.
But I don't think you got to think of like it as an accessory either. I think it's opportunities for you to get off. And so you see Angie get off. That was her her first thing she showed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Say what? Yeah, when you separate. I think for women, I think you got to separate to get off, right? No.
What's it again?
Say what?
You don't have to separate. You should stay together if you get high steps because we have to balance. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did you dance with him at that time, though? Was you high stepping with him?
We did 2001, we were high stepping.
That was good too.
That was high stepping.
I want Keith to come on. I got another detail high stepping. And Lauren, to your point, I see a lot of ladies do this, and I was hoping Charnice was still in here, because she was one of the masters. Is she here? She was one of the masters at doing this part of the high step and adding it into her thing. But Keith, do the part that we just talked about. Watch it now. Look at it. Look at his hands. Do it this way so they can see it too. Do it on the other side so the other side can see your hands.
Guys, ladies are always going to dominate the dance from the beauty, correct?
Thank you.
You need to get your game tightened up. All this here. No. It's right here. See, we speak with our feet. We get a little, we back up. And we all in the same position. We're not running all over here. We right here with us. Go ahead. Come on. Watch what he do. Now you gonna make me do something. That's what he's doing. That's what he's trying to do. Gonna make me get going with him. See, there you go. I can't stand him.
Hey, that's my first time seeing Daryl high step. Hey, Niecy, last one. This is the last show you end on, Niecy. In the loose shoes contest, you broke away. I said in the loose shoes contest, you broke away. Let me show you. I don't want to get in the seat. No, I'll show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I want you to see what I'm talking about.
Go out to the middle of the floor.
Go to the middle of the
Come on, T.
All right. Now this is the last thing right here. You talked about the ladies going.
Take them to the middle.
Back to There we go.
Right. It ain't got no song. Give some kick.
No, y'all, come on. But she said I gotta cut it off.
We gotta go.
She said we gotta go. She never did do the move.
Come on, Terrence. There they go. Here we go.
Hey, Chick, you know the contest.
Here it is.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We gotta wrap it up. Wrap it up. And you gotta clear the room out, y'all. We gotta clear the room.
All right.
All right, let's
Thank you,
music.
everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank y'all so much. Hope y'all enjoyed. All right, y'all. We're gonna clear the room and get ready for the banquet. So,
So I'll go back and watch it. Thank
All right, we're they making.
I just want to thank all my fans.
Ready for the brunch.
You know, it's just one of those things. I'm just saying. You know,
right
it's
back.
just like,
Hey, Chris, Rick.
you know, it's just one of those things that we just always have to say to ourselves. You know, like one time when that man did me wrong, I was like, what? I just had to say, you know. I was gonna sing a ballad.
I suppose you can do it last. All our stuff is on the conference table. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look, it's been real. I had to go upstairs and gather the rest of my things from the room. We have to check out, even though we had a late checkout, we're still out. So listen, y'all, this is going to conclude this portion of the Jules and Gents farewell brunch and workshop. We will be back within the hour or two, somewhere in that neighborhood, for the final farewells and the dancing and entertainment. They're gonna be playing cards, Jenga bid, you know, the whole nine, y'all. We're gonna be doing it all before we get out of here for the day. My plane leaves at 9, and I can't wait to get home, cause we is wore out, y'all. All right, see y'all in a little bit. Peace, peoples, my peoples, my peoples. See y'all in a little bit.
Gary.